Yes, lover?
Sorry to bother you. I was just actually hoping to have a quick word with Tim.
We're about to have a real fest. Fun to be stoned while we eat each other.
It's not a problem. I'll talk to him another time.
Come on in. You know his old tricks. You can give me a few pointers.
Tim is the happiest man alive when he realizes his crush Melissa has responded well to his texts. He can't get enough of her and chooses to text her throughout the day, eventually popping the question of asking her for a Hawaii trip together. Much to his delight, she agrees to the offer. He is contemplating spending some alone time with her, only to realize that he has texted the wrong girl, and now what will he do to get out of this tricky situation? Will he get some alone time with girl of his dreams? Now, without any further delay, let's get into the recap. In Portland, Tim Morris is meeting a blind date at a restaurant. His date tells him she's at the bar, so he approaches the woman at the bar, and then her large, muscular boyfriend angrily threatens him until his actual blind date, Melissa, nicknamed Missy, stops him, explaining it was a practical joke she was playing on Tim. They have dinner, where Tim explains he doesn't drink. Missy is obnoxious, loud, and strange, and Tim heads to the bathroom where he tries to climb out the window until Missy catches him. He falls out the window, breaking his ankle, and Missy comes outside and snaps it back into place. At work, Nate tells Tim that his ex-fiancée Julia will be at their upcoming work retreat since she is now dating their other coworker Rich. At the airport, Tim bumps into a beautiful woman, Melissa, and accidentally swaps tickets with her. They both miss their flights and decide to share a drink at the airport bar, where Melissa admits she doesn't drink either and tells Tim her ex-husband cheated on her, just like Julia did to Tim. They end up making out in a closet until Melissa has to rush to her flight, texting Tim her contact info on the way out. That night, Tim texts Melissa that he can't stop thinking about her. She responds, happy to hear from him, and asks him for naked pictures, which he sends to her. Nate pushes Tim to invite Melissa to the retreat, which he does, and Melissa accepts. Nate books Melissa on the same flight to work retreat in Hawaii as Tim. On the plane, Missy arrives, and Tim realizes he was texting the wrong Melissa in his phone contacts the entire time. Tim tries to explain, but Missy tells him that she was about to jump off a bridge when she got his text and decided not to. Missy force-feeds Tim a dog tranquilizer, and when he wakes up, Missy is giving him the time of his life. In Hawaii, Tim and Missy check into the hotel and run into Rich and Julia, much to Tim's discomfort. In the hotel room, Missy quickly gets into the bathtub and tries to lure Tim in, but he ignores her advances to go to his orientation. Jack Winstone, the new CEO, welcomes everyone. Nate tells Tim he put in a good word for him with Jack, and Tim tells Nate about the mix-up. Winstone arrives and asks about the beautiful woman Nate bragged about. Tim lies to Winstone and his competitive coworker Jess, but Missy shows up anyway. Tim tells Missy he went overboard bragging about her and asks her to be chill. Missy, however, gets drunk, begins giving psychic readings to everyone, and dances with the hula dancers, causing a massive scene and embarrassing Tim. Free-spirited Missy then decides to dive off a cliff, but she hits branches on her way down and lands on the sand. Tim brings her back to their room and puts her to bed, then takes another dog tranquilizer. He dreams of being in bed with Julia, but wakes up and realizes he's in bed with Missy. The next day, Winstone takes everyone out on shark expedition, led by his guide Comanche, who is missing fingers from a shark attack. Tim sees Missy running after the boat and tries to get it to leave before she catches up, but she dives off the pier and climbs up the side of the moving boat. Winstone tries to get Tim to go diving to look at sharks, which he doesn't want to do and tries to make an excuse, but Missy blows his cover. Julia knows Tim is claustrophobic and asks if he's sure he wants to. Tim and Winstone go underwater into the shark cage. If you have come this far in the video, please subscribe to this channel to never miss amazing content like this. Back on the boat, Missy chops up fish into chum, hoping to bring more sharks out to make the day more exciting. Comanche tries to stop her, and as the two struggle, the chum splashes all over her, causing her to vomit right into the shark cage. This attracts a massive shark that rams the shark cage multiple times. As he struggles to the surface, Tim kicks Windstone in the face, causing his nose to bleed, making the shark go crazy. It breaks into the cage, but Comanche is able to punch it until it flees. Tim gets out of the cage, and Missy does CPR to revive the unconscious Windstone. Later, Tim chastises Missy for what she's done, and Missy says if he wanted a woman to sit back and be quiet, he brought the wrong Missy. Just then, Melissa from the airport texts Tim. Later, he preps his team for the retreat talent show, hoping to impress Windstone, while Missy goes to spend a day at the spa with their hotel next-door neighbor, Barbara. He is horrified when Nate tells her Barbara is Windstone's wife. He runs to the spa, where he doesn't find Missy. Back at the hotel, he confronts Missy, who explains she gave Barbara very good advice to dump Windstone. She also explains she wasn't suicidal when she was jumping off a bridge, she was bungee jumping. Tim overhears Windstone storming out of his hotel room, dumped by Barbara. At the pool, to Tim's horror, Missy confronts Windstone about the problems in his marriage. Windstone realizes she's the cause of his breakup, and while fleeing from her, he falls and hurts himself. Missy pops his neck back into place and tells him to accept the help getting his wife back. Later, Missy tells Tim that she helped Windstone begin working through his problems, and assures Tim that Windstone loves him. At the talent show, Tim and his group perform their dance, impressing Windstone. To celebrate Tim's success, he and Missy have dinner. Tim and Missy seems to hit it off for the first time. Meanwhile, Melissa is still texting him. That night, Tim tells Nate he's been ignoring Melissa because he's starting to have feelings for Missy, and comes back to the room to find Julia. Missy thinks that Julia and Tim both have unresolved feelings, and encourages them to sleep together. Tim isn't sure, but Missy makes it clear she means it with her as well. They get high, and as they start to, Julia gets accidentally knocked in the face multiple times and leaves the two of them alone. The next day, Windstone throws a child-themed party, where Tim interviews with Windstone, who seems to want to give him the job. Jess notices this, and tells Missy that she wasn't even supposed to be there. Missy checks Tim's phone and sees his texts to Melissa, where he says he invited the wrong woman and calls Missy a lunatic. Missy leaves, devastated. Tim notices she's gone and runs after her. In the lobby, Melissa arrives, invited by Jess. She greets Tim as he watches Missy leave in a cab. Tim has a meal with Melissa, where he gets drunk and does a walking handstand, falling over a railing and hitting his head. He has flashes of his time with Missy. Melissa wakes him up and asks if he's okay. He explains that he's fallen for someone else. He apologizes to Melissa, who says she'll be fine, and flies back to Portland. He texts Missy repeatedly, but she tells Tim to leave her alone. Missy goes on another blind date, where Tim tries to play the same prank on her by sending her to the wrong date at the bar. Tim apologizes to Missy. He tells Missy all the things about her that he likes and wants to be more like, and that he doesn't want to desperately be trying to impress his boss. Missy forgives him, and the two kiss. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let us know in the comment section below which movie you want us to recap next. As always, until the next time.